Hey, all, Tom Moran here from Tom's Big Spiders. We're going to start the new year with some footage of the balfouri communal. Now, for folks that haven't seen these videos before, there are only a handful of species that can be kept communally, so please don't go rush out and try to start communal with your B. hammeri or your T. albopilosum, because it will not work. So what we have here is some footage starting from about the end of November into January. It seems like they've been out a lot more. I think it has something to do with the fact that we've had quite a few winter storms, including a lot of rain. It seems like they come out when it gets a little more humid in the tarantula room. So anyway, enough of me talking. Let's check out some balfouri. All right, so as luck would have it, the balfouri have been out and about quite a bit this last month and a half or so, and I think part of it is due to the fact that we've gotten quite a bit of rain. They seem to come out when it's particularly humid, and I've noticed that during the dry winter months, that's usually when they disappear, but I've noticed also that when it gets rainy outside and we have, higher humidity, obviously, in the tarantula room and higher humidity outside, that they come out. So I'm guessing that they detect something that's going on in the weather, whether it's a change in pressure or whatever, and it seems to draw them out. But here you see there are 5 of them that you can see out and about. There's a 6th inside that tunnel. You can see her legs just poking out. And this is normally what they do. I will say that they've become more bold over the course of the years. It used to be where I'd try to take video of them. I'd put the light on them with the phone and they'd scamper away, which made it difficult to try to get any video. But now they kind of, there's another one in there too. Now they're kind of less shy, more likely to hang out and about. As you'll see at the end of this video, I even get an opportunity where I open up the enclosure and get some pictures of them without the plexiglass in between them. Now, a couple things to note for people that are seeing this video for the first time or seeing this balfouri communal for the first time, because I know that a lot of you folks have been with me since the beginning, but there are new people discovering these videos. This is one of the few species that can be kept communally. So that's something to be noted, that this doesn't work for all species. I've had a lot of people that they see these videos and go, oh, I didn't know they could all be kept together. And no, they can't. There's certain species that do better than others. The balfouri, although they haven't been witnessed in the wild living like this, seem to do well in captivity in communal setups. These guys were acquired in June of 2016 as slings from 2 different sacks. They've been together the entire time. I started off with 9. I still have 9. There are, I believe right now, it's hard to sex them because I've had situations where one male molted out and the next male to molt out was almost a year later. So you sometimes have to guess, and you can't obviously drag the molts out because you're not sure which one they will go to. But it looks like at this point we have 4 males and 5 females. Now, these guys are mature. The males, I have 4 mature males, 3 which should be mature females. They're the same size as my much older female that I kept separately. And a lot of people have asked, has there been any breeding? Well, there has been tons of attempted breeding. The males are constantly trying to breed the females. The males are actually constantly trying to breed each other. So there's a lot of mingling in that respect, but I haven't had a single sack yet. And I've heard people tell me that they will breed in this situation and produce young. And I've also heard from other people that they will not breed and produce young when kept communally. So that's kind of an interesting thing, because what I'm seeing right now, I would expect that somebody would have had an egg sac, but I'm not getting any of that. So I'm not sure what it is about this situation. They do seem to thrive in this situation. They grew a lot faster than the balfouri I kept by themselves. However, they are not breeding. So what will eventually happen is I'll pluck one of these guys out, maybe that little male over there, and put him in with my female who's kept separately and see if I can't get some babies that way. But so far, we have had no babies. Now, to answer some other questions, I have people ask all the time, can you start balfouris together that are slightly different sizes? Yes, I've heard confirmed from at least a dozen people that have started ones of slightly different size. Now, again, I wouldn't go crazy. I did hear an instance where somebody put a mature female or almost mature female in with some juveniles, 2 juveniles. They did well. That would kind of freak me out a little bit, but I would guess within reason, if they're close enough in size, they do well. I've heard situations where people have dropped juveniles in with slings and they've all congregated together, and both the juveniles and slings had continued to do well in that environment. Can you put them in from different sacks? Yes, you can. I've heard these were for 2 different sacks. I've heard somebody that put in, I believe it was 2 different sacks and then added one from a 3rd sack later on. They do well in that type of situation. I've heard of one situation where they didn't do well, where people were introducing a bunch of mature females together, and they, unfortunately, mature females that have been kept apart, it seems like at that point there's going to be some friction. So whenever introducing them together, always, I like to encourage people to do it in a neutral enclosure. So if you have two that are kept in different enclosures, create a third enclosure and introduce them to that, and make sure you monitor what's going on. What I saw with mine is that they kind of all congregated to the same burrows. There was no friction. I've talked to other people that said they all ended up in the same place. They didn't fight at all, but you want to keep an eye on them. Now, as for how many to put together, I've heard from everything from 3 balfouri up to 20 balfouri. I'm sure there's ones out there, communals, that they're even bigger than that. So it doesn't really matter the numbers per se. I would say that I wouldn't drop in 3 mature males together, 3 mature females together, but it seems to be that it doesn't really matter what the number is. They get along very well. Now, as far as putting males in with females, that's a no-no from what I've seen, because you can get some violence from the females. That's something that, you know, they will eat the males at times, so I wouldn't just drop a male in with a female and leave them overnight or expect them to cohabitate. That's a different situation if they have not been kept communally. Now, as you can see in this footage here, one of the things I'll notice is when it becomes particularly moist, they'll come out and wander around and kind of circle the enclosure. I've seen this a couple times now. If you look here, this I really like to see, because this male climbs right over top of the other one, sits there for a second. So it looks like we have a 16-leg spider there for a second, and then moseys right on over top, and she doesn't seem to care at all. And we catch a lot of these little micro interactions when we're in that room. Unfortunately, I don't catch them on camera, but every once in a while you see one of them out and about, and I might startle them. They'll go into the same hole together. They'll walk over each other. I had one situation where there was almost 3 of them stacked up. So they really do get along. It's not that they're just tolerating each other. As you can see there, if it was just tolerating, you'd think the one underneath would scamper away, be like, get off me. They don't seem to mind the close proximity or the physical interactions like the way you might see with other species. Now, one of the questions I get is, have you caught them all out and about, all 9 of them? No, I have not. However, I have caught 5 of the females out and then 4 of the males out at different times, so I know they're all still in there. And that tends to be a question that I get from a lot of people, like, don't you panic when you don't see them all out at the same time? And I don't now. I used to. When I first put them in together, I was kind of obsessing over it, and when I wasn't able to count all 9 slings, it would freak me out. It took me several months to catch all 9 out. And I've spoken to other keepers as well that have seen the same thing, where they don't catch them all out and worry one of them's dead. There have been instances where people have taken the communals apart and one of them is gone. You can't tell if they ate them or not. It could have just died of natural causes, but for the most part, people will break them all out, and they're all there. So know that if you do one of these communal setups, this is a common thing where you won't catch them all out at the same time. Now, the footage here, as I was alluding to earlier, I was able to actually open the enclosure, which is an acrylic, and it tends to squeak a great deal. And usually what happens when I try to open the enclosure, they all scatter and go into their burrows, but they're getting a little more, at least in this situation, a little more brazen. They were out in the open. Right here, I was able to get right up next to this one with the camera. I actually posted a photo of this on Instagram, and they didn't run away. They didn't hide. It was really neat because it was the first, I think this is honestly the first footage I've gotten of them as adults without having the acrylic between us. I was able to open the enclosure without fear of them bolting and get some good footage. So there they all, this is obviously after a feeding, dropped some big old crickets in there, and they were snatching them all up and devouring them, which is cool. And that's one of the times I sometimes catch them all out, or some of them out, is I will drop in prey items right before bedtime, turn off the lights, leave the room, leave things alone for a couple hours. When you come back in, a lot of them will come out to eat. Not all of them. Usually I catch 5, sometimes 6, but you'll get some of them out and about. So here they are, and they are a gorgeous species. I've always loved the M. balfouri, even when I had my first 3, I alluded to this before, 2 of them ended up being male. 1 was a female. I still have her. I was obsessed with the species early on, and then once you see the communal behavior, they just become really one of the coolest possible tarantulas you can keep. And I've heard from many dozens of people over the years after starting this communal who have done created successful communals themselves. So this isn't just exclusive to mine. They are a very good communal species in captivity. All right, so they're obviously all doing well. I am pretty certain that there are all 9 in there. And again, I just want to emphasize that anybody that starts the communals, keep in mind you usually don't see them all out at once. I know it panics a lot of people when you think you have 10 in there and you're only seeing 8 or 9 at a given time, but usually that other one is in there hiding and you're just seeing different ones at different times. So something that I consider very, very normal, but I've talked to a couple people that freaked out, dug them up, went, yep, you're right, they were all in there. And then a couple cases where they dug them up and one was missing. Whether or not it was eaten or not, who knows? Generally speaking, I haven't seen any signs of cannibalism with mine, but it could happen. They are spiders. So if you enjoyed this video and want to subscribe, very much appreciated. You can click the circle right up in here. If you want to check out more of the videos, I'm going to put a couple of them over here. As always, I answer all comments. And if you have a question that you don't want anybody else to see, just pick an older video and post it. I'll get the notification and answer it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you guys all next time.